The college basketball experience, transfer portal updates, and scheduling notes episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. So go ahead and do that. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. Yes! Woo! Welcome to the college basketball experience preview and picks. No, it's the transfer portal update and scheduling notes. It's the offseason, if you can't tell, but I don't even know if this is the offseason. Part of me feels like there's more news happening daily than when we have a slate of 150 games on a Saturday. Folks, I'm excited to bring you this episode, though. And look, if you're wondering perhaps just who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dant, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Pretend it never happened and get along with your life. True. Move this thing along. Well, things are moving along in the transfer portal. You better believe it. A lot of lives are being affected. And we're here to talk about it. Chat's a little empty. The offseason blues. All right? I'm going to sing you a tune. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former video coordinator for Bob Huggins at West Virginia and Frank Martin at South Carolina, host of the NFL Gambling Podcast, host of the Ryan and Rush Show. Give it up for Ryan McIntyre. What is up, brother?
What is up, Dundee? Yeah, we're used to handicapping, 150 games on a Friday night going into a college conference Saturday, but instead we'll just talk 1,500 names in the transfer portal tonight.
Yeah. Fuck. I mean, a lot of stuff to talk about, and I know, like, if I miss a player or two,
it's not personal.
We'll get to it because we're going to preview, all the conferences, all the teams by the time October rolls around. And you never know. The portal opens up again. People can leave. You know what I mean? You've seen players stop for like 2 weeks out of college and then bounce. This is the current state of things. Shout out to Brick Patino. Great name. He goes, "What's up, folks?" And shout out to Trevor Vandenbosch Jones. He goes, "Damn it, I'm drunk. Galactic bowling right now." Wow. That sounds fantastic. Xavier Smith says breaking Chicago State will play in the Galactic Bowl into 2023 college football bowl season. Hey, hopefully Chicago State is getting that football program together. I know they've been trying to do this thing. Hopefully they figure this out. I'm all on board for the Galactic Bowl. Dude, we got a lot. I made a sheet. And as I was making the sheet, I started the sheet 2.5 hours ago. And I was like, okay, that'll be enough time. Nope, definitely not enough time. Definitely not even close to enough time for me to really put together some things. But let's just start off with let's go scheduling first. All right.
We like scheduling.
Yeah, this gets me excited. A lot, all this stuff like say, the Georgetown Hoyas hosting Syracuse on December 9th in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
I mean, that happens every year, and it should because it's a rivalry. But that was announced. I was glad to see that. I saw, to me, a couple of the big ones here that just recently got released. Well, we have the Arizona, Michigan State to play in the Thanksgiving game in Palm Springs, California. Look, I hate neutral site games. I would love to see this on campus. But since I live about a nice hour and a half from Palm Springs, I'm going to this fucking thing, I think. Unless something changes. I've already talked to the wife saying, hey, let's go out to Palm Springs for the weekend for Thanksgiving, and we could attend this game, come home, have some turkey. You can get a hotel with a kitchen in it. I'll make a fucking turkey, right? And then we can watch the Egg Bowl together. How romantic. We go from college basketball to turkey to college football. Make sure you subscribe to the College Football Experience as well, as we're already breaking down everything over there. But, dude, this game is fantastic. I know if I were you, I'd be like, why are they playing this in Palm Springs? Because, look, I don't like neutral site games, but it's close to me. If you're going to do it, please do it within an hour and a half from my house. What do you make of it?
I think and I'm reading right now, it's going to be televised right after the Lions game on Fox. So that's a good way of college basketball trying to sneak onto one of the major networks on the national stage on a big holiday. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We like watching teams play at other teams' campuses, but there are certain exceptions. This seems to be one. Palm Springs. I'm always in favor of them playing at the Garden, to be honest. I always like neutral site games at the Garden. Vegas is slowly turning into that. It feels like
I was shocked it was Palm Springs, man. Palm Springs is
something different. Yeah.
So I will be there unless something changes. But there's other announcements that we have, like the Jumpman Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina, obviously affiliated with Michael Jordan's Nike brand.
Yeah.
Those two games were announced. North Carolina versus Oklahoma. So you're going to have a little opportunity here, buddy, for the last year of the Big 12 for you to hang on to the Sooners for one more year as they take on the North Carolina Tar Heels. Porter Moser versus Hubert Davis. I'm actually pretty excited to watch that game. What do you make of that one?
That's interesting because this is a big year for Porter Moser. Year number 3, they kind of have hovered around, the 16, 17, maybe 18 mark in his first 2 years. But it's also a big year for Hubert Davis. It's his third year as well, and obviously he goes to national championship, but then takes a big step back. They refuse to play in the NIT like a bunch of bitches. And so, two coaches going into big year number 3, so it'll be interesting here.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, Moser's lucky that they're a football school.
Yeah, he can fly under the radar a little bit.
I mean, he gets paid pretty well, and I'm like, I understand you're in the Big 12. Watch he'll go to the SEC, win the SEC or something. But the other side of that game,
they did beat Alabama by 30 this year. Maybe they need to go to the SEC.
Yeah, I think they might. The other part of the Jumpman Classic, I think we got to get to Noah Beanick to this game because his two schools, Michigan and Florida, doing battle in Charlotte. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about it. Last year, it was Carolina, Michigan. That was a great game. And then it was Florida and Oklahoma, and that also was a good game. So they flipped the matchups, obviously, with the 4 Jumpmans. The only one that they're missing, it seems like, is Georgetown. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think. So, it'll be interesting if they get Georgetown in there in the future. But, this is the Noah Beanick matchup. We'll have his handicap here in about 6 months.
Let's go. Look, I'm going to bring more scheduling notes to the forefront here in a second. But first, I want to tell you that the College Basketball Experience is brought to you by Shady Rays. Kick off the new year with new gear that's built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much, much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair you've ever worn. They got durable frames. They got extremely clear optics for those outdoor adventures. It's the off season. All right, you're out there eating granola, hiking, trying to find the purpose of life without college hoops on every day. I understand it. Well, wear some clear optics. All right, and that's not all though. Shady Rays offers the most insane eye protection I've ever heard of. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. So let's say you're completely depressed, wife's sick of your bullshit. There's been no basketball, college hoops on every night. And you're upset. So you decide, hey, honey, we need to go on a getaway out in nature, hiking in Montana or Wyoming or something, right? You're out there, you're having a good old time. You're starting to reconnect with nature, your purpose on the planet. You're already thinking about, hey, how will Pitino do in his first year at St. John's? You're on the hike. Your wife's probably talking to you about all this stuff with your family, but you're thinking about Pitino at St. John's year one, Cooley at Georgetown year one. I get it. And out of nowhere, a fucking grizzly bear and her cubs are right there, right? And you're like, honey, we got to shut the fuck up right now. But it's too late. The cubs are there. A grizzly bear comes running at you. You go to pull out your revolver. You're a little slow, and the grizzly bear just completely bitch slaps you, and your glasses go flying from one part of the forest to another. And then you get your gun, and you blast that bear right in the fucking face, right? But your glasses are already destroyed. You've already saved a life. Your wife loves you a little bit more now because you look like you've done some manly shit. Then you're sitting there saying, hey, I am fantastic. And then, you look at your sunglasses, they're destroyed. You go to Shady Rays, you say, they're not even going to ask what happened. They're not even going to look at the fact you only have one ear. They're going to say, oh, here's your pair of sunglasses. Boom! No questions asked. A brand new pair on delivery. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because the reality is they have your back long after your purchase. With Shady Rays, you can look good and you can feel good because they have donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger with Feeding America. So their heart's in the right place. Right now, exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving you the best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Yes, try for yourself. The Shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. Get on over there. All right. We're back. I hope you liked my story time. And get those Shady Rays. Shout out to Xavier Smith, longtime listener, first-time viewer. Keep up the off-season grind. Hey, thank you, man. Thank
you, sir.
And I know Ryan's talking about this Memphis commit out here in California. Mikey Williams got arrested today. 6 counts of assault with a handgun. 6 months per count minimum in Cali. Tough.
Yeah. It'll blow over. With all this portal news, it'll blow over. He'll be suiting up by November. It's 5-game suspension.
As a guy that's been to Memphis countless times, he'll fit right in.
He might need his gun.
Oh, he will.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's. I got more scheduling notes that I feel like are exciting. The Sunshine Slam in Daytona Beach, Florida. Man, you got Florida State. They haven't announced all the teams, but we know Florida State, UNLV, Richmond, and my Colorado Buffaloes. And I'm actually somewhat excited for Colorado next year with the return. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Tristan Da Silva, Julian Hammond, KJ Simpson, Javon Hadley, all returning. They're adding a 5-star freshman that On 3 has as the top recruit in the nation, Cody Williams. And then they brought in Eddie Lampkin Jr. I'm super excited to see the Buffs next year. I know it doesn't have a lot of heavyweights. If anything, Florida State, I got no idea what to consider Florida State right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you make of the Sunshine Slam Classic in Daytona Beach, Florida?
What a name in Sunshine State. So Florida State, Richmond, Colorado. Who'd you say the 4th team that was named?
UNLV,
which will be year 3 of Kevin Kruger. Yeah, I mean, it's another kind of under the radar tournament. I think everybody with the non-conference preseason tournaments thinks of Maui or the PK or the Charleston one or the Myrtle Beach one, but this isn't one that's kind of under the radar. I'm sure that they'll kind of seed it where they want Florida State, Colorado with the 2 high majors in the finals. But I mean, UNLV and Richmond are 2 solid mid majors that could give these teams games and have a chance to bolster their resume in November.
Yeah, 100%. And look, the Wooden Legacy, the John Wooden Classic that's been played in, I feel like, Anaheim forever, is moving to Vegas. They haven't released much information on this event besides the fact that Arizona State is replacing Arizona and BYU is on board. So something to monitor as the Wooden Legacy moves to Vegas. Other things to note that kind of get me excited for college hoops here is Memphis and UVA are doing a home and home, and starting next year, the first game will be at Memphis next season, right? I mean, dude, talk about contrast in styles too. I love this matchup. You?
Yeah, and I think this is big for Memphis because they're losing who they
Houston.
could play for a top 10 win in conference play with Houston. And I don't know if Cincinnati was ever going to get back to being a top 25 program consistently like they were under Huggs and Mick Cronin, but Cincinnati still was a top half of the league or top tier team in the American. So yeah, they needed more opportunities in November, December to bolster the resume for March.
Yeah, and they also did this. They scheduled a home and home with Missouri. They're heading to Columbia, Missouri to take on Dennis Gates next season as well. So Missouri, UVA added to the schedule. Remember, they lose Houston, but Florida Atlantic is going to be on that schedule. North Texas, UAB, and North Texas, obviously, who knows the situation? Tyler Perry, Grant McCaskill's gone. But UAB should still be solid. Obviously, East Carolina is the greatest school in the country. And you saw they landed Bobby Pettiford, right? From Kansas.
Yes, I did see that. Good get, come from a winning program. I keep forgetting that FAU is kind of replacing Houston. Obviously, they haven't done it back-to-back years like Houston's done it. Like what they did was magical last year, but they're going to be the hunted next year. And it's always interesting watching these teams that go on these runs come back with the target square on their back the next year.
Yeah, 100%. Some other scheduling notes before we move on to coaching news. The Garden State Classic. Love when this is played. Rutgers at Seton Hall, December 9th. Dude, I love that one. Make that happen every year. There's some more that are similar. I mentioned Georgetown, Syracuse. Nebraska will host Creighton in Lincoln on December 3rd. Fuck yeah. All on board there. Louisiana Tech will host Louisiana. I always find in-state matchups, and those are two good programs. Those are two solid programs, so they should play each other more often. I did see also Gonzaga will host Yale. I made a note of it. Yale's a decent program. I don't have a date on that thing, but just FYI, we got some Ivy League WCCC matchups going on next year. Let's hop on over and talk a little coaching news. Because Baker Dunleavy, the head coach at Quinnipiac, they win their Frozen Four hockey national championship. And Baker Dunleavy, who had a good season this year at Quinnipiac, leaves to be the new general manager for Baker Dunleavy, son of Mike Dunleavy, Sr.
Yeah.
Played at Villanova back in I feel like the mid 2000s or early 2000s. He is the new general manager for Villanova. He leaves a head coaching job. Quinnipiac ends up hiring the assistant Tom Pecora. What do you make of that?
Interesting. Just the whole general manager title. I think that's going to be a new trend in college basketball. From some of the conversations I've had with people, is with the portal, the NIL. It's more than just, hey, I'm going to go recruit these players, coach these players, watch film, and get ready for practice. I mean, there's so many different egos you got to manage. You got to worry about, you got to recruit your own players first off. We're seeing that with the portal. You got to make sure that your guy's guy is happy, and then he's got a guy that you got to keep happy. Everybody wants to get paid. It's really fucked up, to be honest. But hey, it is what it is. And yeah, I just think that it's interesting because he was there for 6 years at Quinnipiac. Probably was on the hot seat a little bit. I know he had won 20 games, but head over to Villanova under Kyle Neptune. They're obviously friends. He's a Villanova guy. He was there from 2010 to 2017. So probably just is ready to be in an administrative role for a year or two and maybe get back on the floor coaching.
Yeah, perhaps. I wanted to touch base on this too. Mark Madsen, who was hired at Cal.
Yeah.
Remember, from Utah Valley, former Stanford and Los Angeles Laker. He hired Matt Sherbensky, the Texas Tech assistant. I thought that was an interesting hire, and he's brought in some transfers right away. I think Cal automatically going to be a lot better next year with Madsen at the helm. But the reason I mentioned that is he left Utah Valley. Utah Valley announced they hired Todd Phillips. Not the director of Hangover. We're talking the current or last year he was an assistant coach with Madsen. So they're keeping it in family with Utah Valley. Further along in the state, up in Logan, Utah State, obviously, they lost Ryan Odom to VCU. Mm-hmm. They go out and hire Montana State's head coach, Danny Sprinkle, who's made the tournament back-to-back seasons. What do you make of that one?
I love that one. And I'm always in favor of rewarding the guys that win at the low major level or the mid-major level. For example, Brad Underwood getting his shot after he dominated at Stephen F. Austin for those years. Sprinkle was 81-43 at Montana State. Over the last 2 years, he was 52-18, back-to-back tournament appearances. And they gave K-State a good game for the most part this year. So, yeah, well deserving of this opportunity. Who knows? He may prolong this into another opportunity, kind of like Odom did, jumping from UMBC to Utah State now to an A-10 at VCU. We'll see what happens with Sprinkle.
Yeah, and staying in the state of Utah, all this turnover. Southern Utah, remember they lost their head coach to Bowling Green. They went out and hired Western Illinois' head coach Rob Jeter, who I'm familiar with from, I guess I watched Western Illinois basketball, but I didn't connect the dots a lot this year. I remember Rob Jeter from Milwaukee. He took the Panthers to the NCAA tournament back in 2006 and 2014. What do you make of the Thunderbirds hiring Western Illinois' Rob Jeter?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good hire considering Western Illinois has been a dumpster fire before he got there. They were never good. And I know you look at on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, he was 16-14, 16-16. That's actually pretty good at Western Illinois, considering how many bye games you got to play. And we I feel like they were one of our darlings, them and the Tommies. So we enjoyed betting on them this year.
Definitely. And then Valparaiso, this happened, I don't know, the past 2 weeks, I guess, 2.5 weeks. They hired Gonzaga assistant Roger Powell as head coach of the Crusaders there. What do you make of that? I mean, I think that's kind of, I guess that'd be a home run get, right?
Yeah, and he went to Illinois. He was on the 2005 Final Four team with Bruce Weber, so he goes back to the Midwest. Obviously, he was at Gonzaga. Well, he was at Vanderbilt before that. I think that's a home run. He actually started at Valpo as an assistant before that under Bryce Drew. Long-term head coach. Everybody knows him from the famous shot in the NCAA tournament. So this is a home run by Valpo, in my opinion. Bring home one of their own.
So then Gonzaga needed to hire an assistant coach. They go and get R.J. Barsh from Florida State. And then, Florida State needs to get an assistant coach. Leonard Hamilton hires Kevin Nickelberry from Georgetown/LSU. Remember, he was on some of those wiretaps, I think, who instantly brings in Josh Nickelberry, a guy who lit it up for LaSalle the past couple of years, former four-star who originally was going to Louisville. I don't know what to make of Florida State. We saw Matthew Cleveland hit the portal. Caleb Mills hit the portal. I got no fucking idea what is going on in Tallahassee. Nickelberry has been – Georgetown was terrible last year. LSU was terrible the year prior. So it's been a while since Nickelberry's been a part of a winning team, but I know he can bring in talent. What do you make of it?
Hey, if he could do what he did at LSU before the wire, I mean, it's illegal what he did now. So maybe he starts doing that at Florida State, dropping some bags off, and we'll see Florida State get back to being good. Florida State's a weird program right now.
They are. I don't know that they have an identity right now. You know, a few years ago when they had it rolling, they were a great defensive team. I feel like they had an unbelievable length, and then they kind of went away from the length and tried to get more like guard friendly. And I don't know what happened, or shorter as a team, more athletic, maybe. I don't know, but they haven't been the same since then, in my opinion. So
I agree. And Ryan Hasty makes a good point in the chat. They've always, when they've been good, have had those 5th and 6th year guys where they've kind of like West Virginia a little bit, where they've had multiple year guys and got better player development. But the portal's been tough on Florida State for sure.
Definitely. And then final coaching news, Georgia Tech. Remember, they hired Damon Stoudemire from the Boston Celtics / a couple years ago, he was the head coach of the Pacific Tigers in Stockton, California. Well, Stoudemire went out and hired longtime Rutgers assistant to Steve Peichel, Carl Hobbs. Interesting get there in the ACC. We will see what Damon Stoudemire can do in Atlanta. All right, look, before I get to, we have some news regarding players coming back and entering the portal. And then we're going to get to some of the teams that have landed players. But before I do all of that, I want to tell you that the college basketball experience is brought to you by good old Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy is a great place to get down on fantasy and player props all year long. Underdog Fantasy has your favorite MLB, NHL, NBA games daily, every single day, daily games. So plus they're already doing best ball drafts for the 2023 NFL season. Head over to underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right. And don't worry, if we were talking about coaching hires and we didn't mention your school that went out and made a what you think is a good hire or a bad hire, we're gonna have an episode where we go through all the coaching turnover. It's just that was topical to me over the past 2 weeks. So stay tuned. All right. Things I know the chat was just talking about this. This is some current news. Kansas State's hosting Max Abmas this weekend. How big would it be for the Wildcats to land Max Abmas, Mac, and have your Big 12 get one of the best players in college basketball?
Absolutely huge. It's a must get. I think it's down to them in Texas. I would love to see him go to K-State just because he would be an immediate impact.
This guy, come on.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He would be a perfect replacement for Markquis Nowell. And we've seen Jerome Tang with the guards track record. Come on, Max.
Sell your soul. They would never recruit a small guard like you. All right.
Yes.
Don't sell your soul, Max.
I'm with you. I really hope he goes to K-State.
I find that exciting. K-State would always, it's like the Darren Sproles. I mean, you can go on and on and on about the undersized. Yeah, Deuce Vaughn. All the undersized players that they've had, they fit that role. Go to K-State and go fuck up Texas, who never would ever give you the time of day unless you average 30 fucking points a game at Oral Roberts for 3 fucking seasons. All right? Don't do it, Max. Talk to me. Call 1-800-PICK-DUNDEE. All right? Other news I thought was noteworthy. Terrell Burden, the MVP of the ASUN tournament, returns to Kennesaw State after hitting the portal. Remember, Kennesaw State has a new head coach in Antoine Petway. That was substantial news. Also, Jesse Edwards of Syracuse. Remember Joe Girard? He's still in the portal. Jesse Edwards hits the portal now. Syracuse, what is happening in upstate New York there? I saw that their biggest contributor to their NIL collective will no longer give the school any money. That's substantial. What is going on in upstate New York? And I saw West Virginia in one of his 3 teams that he listed as possibilities to go. Jesse Edwards in Morgantown. Can we see it happening? And what do you make of what we got going on in upstate New York?
I'll start with Syracuse real quick, just because it's ironic that Boeheim bitched about the portal and the NIL, and then you hear something with this where the number one donor doesn't want to donate to Syracuse anymore. So, maybe Uncle Bernie saw this one coming. As for Edwards, I mean, he averaged, 15, 10, and 2 blocks. He's gotten better and better throughout his career. He'd be a great fit for Huggs in terms of protecting the rim with how Huggs wants to play defense. He can erase a lot of mistakes on the perimeter. It's going to come down to them, Kansas and Gonzaga. So we'll see. He'd be a really good fit, in my opinion, for Huggs.
Yeah. I mean, you already added Krisha, Edwards. You got Perez, the kid coming in from Manhattan still. I don't know. Maybe and I guess we should get to it. Joe Toussaint, COVID year eligibility. So this is what I find fascinating. You have
Trey Mitchell.
Oh yeah, and Trey Mitchell. Yeah, you have the situation with the COVID year going on. We saw Jack Nunge elected not to return to Xavier, which you're not going to be in the NBA. I get it. You want to go make $1 million in Belgium? Fine. All right. If you can get $1 million there. But I don't understand. I would take advantage of this. They'll probably pay. You could stay on the college campus 1 more year. You're going to be reminiscing about these days for the rest of your fucking life. Take advantage. So what do you make of those guys coming back to Dub V? I feel like Huggy Bear is going to have a really good team next year.
They've gotten really good support throughout the state with the NIL collection. So West Virginia has really stepped up. And, it really is refreshing because everybody just thought the big cities would be the ones that would dominate or the big programs. West Virginia's really stepped up in helping this program with the NIL. And that's why you start getting guys like Trey Mitchell and Joe Toussaint to come back. You get a Kirk Kiershaw. I always butcher his name. I call him Kerr from Arizona. Hopefully a Jesse Edwards. And then they're hosting Caleb Grill as well this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing about this whole NIL era is, I know Nebraska's collective, especially on the football side of things, but I believe in general, that whole state.
Yep.
Basketball, I guess they have some Creighton fans, but they're a juggernaut now, from what I understand, like being able to offer money. And that would be, especially on the football side of things. So it makes it interesting because it's not necessarily booming economically. Because you would always think like Los Angeles or New York City or Miami or some of these big cities would be able to offer so much just because there's so many companies thriving, business thriving. It'll be interesting to watch. So we talked about Jack Nunge not returning to Xavier.
Hey, real quick, did you see in regards to West Virginia? Did you see Jimmy Bell?
No, I did not.
He is he's at spring football right now. He's he's trying out for the football team, so he may make the transition from basketball to football. He was a good offensive lineman coming out of high school.
Oh, I mean that would be substantial. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah, I know. I thought you'd enjoy that because I know you host a college football experience as well. So yeah, it would open up another big spot for Hughley as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yes. And shout out to Jackson. Says, absolutely love listening to this while I work. Hey, amen, man. Appreciate you. Ryan Hasty. There we go. Great guys all in here talking hoops in the offseason. Other news that I wanted to note, we have Grant Basile turning down Virginia Tech to go play in Italy.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Italy's league, I do think, offers more money than a lot of the other ones, though. I feel like sometimes when you see them go play in like, I don't know, like Puerto Rico or something, you're like, what are you making? You know what I mean? Like, I get it when you don't have college hoops, but Basile, I mean, Virginia Tech, I feel like they've been active in the portal. They weren't that bad of a team last year. You correct a couple mistakes, you could make the NCAA tournament. I don't really understand this one, but Italy, I will say, one of the countries that I actually think can throw around decent money on their basketball. Surprised at that, but no, we mentioned also Jack Nunge, not coming back as well to go. He's going to go play pro ball somewhere, it says, which I'm sure he could play somewhere. But
yeah,
Jerome Hunter is coming back. That's a good get for the Musketeers. But obviously, if they would have brought Nunge back, would have been huge. Other news, we talked Matt Cleveland hitting the portal at Florida State. Ugana Kingsley Omeyenzo, the center for Kentucky, hit the portal, and then he said, no, I'm coming back. We're going to win a national championship. So if you're a Wildcat fan, you got that going for you. Obviously, you're waiting for the Toshibe news, I think. And then the huge news, I think. You saw Malik Hall and Tyson Walker announce they're coming back to Michigan State, man. I got a feeling this Michigan State team is going to be awesome next year. What did you make of that news?
I hope they win it all because I think everybody's got the perception now in their mind because Miami went on a nice little run and they could have lost to Drake in the first round. So like this whole like myth that you got to do everything through the transfer portal, like, or otherwise you're screwed. I want to see Michigan State go on a run to debunk that completely because I think every year is different. Every scenario is different. Yes, you can win through the transfer portal, but I also think you can win the old school way of having guys come through, second, third year guys in your program, and maybe you add a piece or two in the transfer portal. So I would love to see Michigan State go on another run, and for Tom Izzo too. And one other thing I want to touch on with these guys that are leaving, I know that everybody wants to just go get paid, but in the NIL era, in my opinion, I know nobody's thinking about school anymore. You have an opportunity to make money, more money than you ever could with the NIL while getting, let's say, your fifth-year guy with the COVID exception. You could get a master's degree, and I know that doesn't really mean that much nowadays with everybody, like, just who cares about school, get paid. But if you – not all these guys are going to play in the NBA for 15, 20 years like they think they are.
Yeah. And the NBA draft is really – I know you could say, well, there's – I don't know what it is, 63 picks, 62 picks. I don't fucking know.
They're all Euros.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, you really have, first off, second rounders barely ever make the fucking team.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really looking at, like, I'd say, like, you want to be in the top 35 and or 40 to make the roster. After that, it's just a small opportunity. You know what I mean? So Europe and Japan or China or wherever, even South America has basketball teams that former college players play with, or play for. Those opportunities will be there. So
because you still you're going to get your NIL money. You still get your school paid for. So it's like that's another whole thing with the COVID extra year for these guys that were in school for that. You really could set yourself up for the next 30 to 40 years because you're not going to be able to play basketball the rest of your life. And most of these guys are not going to be able to provide for their family just off basketball. Not everybody's LeBron James or Kevin Durant.
Yeah, exactly. Other news. So that Michigan State news makes them, I think, one of the teams to beat next year. One of the, I'd say, like, preseason top 10 probably.
Yeah.
Duke, your favorite school.
They're doing well.
Dude, I mean, Kyle Filipowski announces he's coming back.
Yeah.
Tyrese Proctor and Mark Mitchell have already announced they're coming back. There's a chance Jeremy Roach might come back still. Ryan Young, who's been in college forever, is taking advantage of his COVID eligibility. Remember the Northwestern transfer? He's coming back. I mean, they have a big class coming in again. I know one just decommitted, but I mean, who cares? I mean, this team, especially if Roach comes back, they're going to be really fucking good next year.
If I'm NC Nick, the last thing I want is preseason number 1. That's like the kiss of death, I feel like kind of with Carolina, what happened this year. They brought everybody back, they added pieces, and they just didn't mesh like they did at the end of the year. But on paper, they look great, just like Carolina did. So it's with Filipowski coming back, that was huge. And Proctor.
Mitchell, Proctor, Filipowski, all huge news. And if you get Roach, guard play travels so far in March, as we always see. Man, I mean, yeah, that was substantial news. Also, I thought Keegan Records, the senior forward that was going to, he's using that COVID eligibility year. He hit the portal. He was at Colgate. This guy's been a beast at Colgate in the Patriot League for a while. Took himself out the portal to return to Colgate. I love seeing it, and I want to include him with Vermont senior Aaron Deloney, who also hit the portal and announced he was coming back to Vermont. I like this, man. You guys have made those schools great. It's a shame you can never get a tournament victory of late, but man, those teams are going to be dominant again in their respective conferences. What do you make of those two guys returning to their schools?
I'm with you. I love it. Vermont, Colgate, we joked in February and January they were an auto play once we got to league play, and I feel like they won every bet.
They will be next year too.
Yeah, I don't remember them losing. I mean, maybe they were favored by like 26.5 one night, and they only won by 24. But yeah, no, they were automatic, and they've gotten some tough draws in March, both of those schools, and I felt like Vermont actually had a shot this year, but just ran out of gas against Marquette. Colgate draw in Texas was tough. That was a tough matchup.
Yeah. I mean, that was a brutal matchup. Personally, I thought, man, they didn't do him no favors. This committee. Other guys, Naheem Aline, former Virginia Tech, wasn't he at A&M too? Maybe he was at UConn last year. Won a national championship. He's hitting the portal as UConn bringing in a big time class. Musa Cisse. What is going on in Stillwater, by the way? Are they going to be horrible next year? Musa Cisse is hitting the portal. This guy's played at every fucking college in college basketball. He's hitting the portal. I am concerned about what's happening at Stillwater. What the fuck is going on there?
Yeah, it's weird, but you know what? Maybe it's addition by subtraction. There were some rumblings that he kind of was a distraction at times for that program. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Mike Boyd and how he reloads in the portal. That's the beautiful thing about the portal. You can get ambushed, but then you can reload quickly too in 2 weeks.
True. Another one, Seton Hall's forward, Femi. How do I pronounce this guy's last name again? Offseason, I feel like Odukale. I'm butchering this. I know his name when I hear it talked about on TV because I remember him at Pitt. He's hitting the portal. Another one, Boogie Ellis. He played with Musa Cisse in Memphis 30 years ago. He's using the extra year of COVID eligibility to come back to USC. That's a good get for him. Also, Washington's Keon Brooks, former Kentucky transfer, getting that extra year of COVID eligibility and coming back to the Huskies. Now let's talk about let's stay in the Pac-12 for a second. Sort of. You know who the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year this year? It was Reese Dixon Waters, the Defensive Player of the Year from USC. Do you know where he transferred?
Oh, I saw this the other day. Dixon went to
San Diego State,
which is a perfect fit because defensively, yes,
they're gonna be better. They're gonna be better than they were this year. I mean, I know they have some guys that are testing, like Lamont Butler is testing the pro. I don't think he's going to make the NBA, and then he's going to come back to San Diego State by the NBA draft, after they have that camp and everything. San Diego State, that's a huge fucking get. That's a huge get, in my opinion, for San Diego State. Other substantial news and I guess that could be the Pac-12 because San Diego State, but he left USC, which is in the Pac-12 for the next 12 months. But it gets confusing. It gets super confusing. But the portal has been fucking crazy. Let's just start with the Arkansas Razorbacks, who landed Jeremiah Davenport, shooting guard from Cincinnati. Tough hit for Cincinnati. I feel like Cincinnati, as they're about to embark on the Big 12, you kind of need some of your better players. And Jeremiah Davenport leaves for Arkansas. Arkansas, though, also loaded up on another AAC team that's jumping to the Big 12 with Houston's Tremont Mark. They also added Khalif Battle, who I was a big fan of at Temple. I think he averaged almost 18 points a game at Temple. Then Keon Menefield, the point guard from Washington. Once again, Musselman. What? Just loading up. I understand they've had Mikal Mitchell hit the portal, Barry Dunning hit the portal. They might have been forced out. Who knows? But, man, it hasn't been that long, and they added 4 pretty big-time additions. What'd you make of what's going on in Fayetteville?
It's kind of similar to last year. I think we joked, we're like, how many scholarships does Arkansas have? They've already added 4. They've offered about 27 more. I'm looking back at what they did last year. I mean, they had the 2 Mitchell twins come in. They had Graham. And then they had guys like Sills go out as well. I mean, it was crazy there as well. So, I mean, like you said, Musselman's great with the portal. I think his NBA background helps him out with this, where meshing new personalities, new talent, and they usually seem to be playing their best ball come January or February and March. And we saw it once again when they pulled the upset over Kansas.
Yeah, and I see Brick Pitino talking about how Cincinnati's in play for Aaron Estrada, obviously the star guard from Speedy Claxton's Hofstra Pride, but also Kansas State's in play for him as well. That'll be something to watch. But, man, Musselman, and let's talk about another team that had a ton of transfers last year, and also a coach that came from a team that had a ton of transfers last year, Ed Cooley in Georgetown. Woo! So wait, let me get this straight. Okay, I know last year, right before Christmas, Dante Harris quit the team. He left for Virginia, which is an underrated get by Tony Bennett, I think, coming into this year. I like Dante Harris. But Denver Anglin leaves the team to go to SMU just the other day. And then Brandon Murray leaves the team to go to Ole Miss. Brandon Murray, LSU, Georgetown, Ole Miss, 3 schools, 3 years. This is fucking ridiculous. But I guess for Chris Beard, that's a big-time getting Brandon Murray. But then Ed Cooley stays aggressive. He lands Dontrez Styles from North Carolina at small forward. He also brings in, I think this was a big one here, in Jaden Epps from Illinois, former 4-star. And then Rowan Brumball from Texas, 4-star from the Texas Longhorns. What do you make of what's happening up there in Washington, D.C. with Ed Cooley bringing in those 3 names? I'm sure they're going to bring in some more.
Yeah, no, they're kind of rumored like Arkansas with a bunch of people. But yeah, no, Cooley's making his stamp right away. I mean, bringing 3 high major transfers from marquee programs, Illinois, Texas, Carolina. I think he's going to flip the thing in 1 year, maybe not to the NCAA tournament, but they're going to be competitive next year. They're not going 7-10 28 again or ever again under Ed Cooley and 0-18 in Big East play. That'll never happen again.
Yeah. I mean,
they're going to be respectable again.
Yeah. I mean, and then you have another one. And I know I'm bouncing all around here, but that's kind of what you do when there's 360 some teams and these transfers. It's like the 405 freeway over here. So we touched on Arkansas landing Tremont Mark, which in a way, though, Houston in a way is going to be better without him in a way, because I know Tremont Mark's a really good player. But they hit it big, I think, when Terrence Arsenault announced he was coming back, right? That's a young guard for them that they're super excited about.
Yep.
They still have Jamal Shed, who, by the way, is still just a junior. So technically he could play 2 more years besides this next year because of the COVID thing. But they go out in the portal, the Houston Cougars, and they land, I mean, LJ Cryer from Baylor, Damian Dunn from Temple. This team is loaded. Are they better? Are they better without Mark now? I kind of think they are.
Yeah, I think they might be better this year, but I don't know if their record's going to be better just because they're going to the Big 12 from the American. So I think they'll take a slight step back, but it helps having a guy like LJ Cryer that's already played in the Big 12, night in and night out, big nights for multiple years. I mean, he was part of the championship roster. He didn't play as much, but I mean, he's been a part of he started every game for the last 2 years. And Damian Dunn was good for Temple as well. We always talked about how Temple has good guards. This is a good get for them as well.
And I see Xavier Smith in the chat saying the NCAA shouldn't grant Brandon Murray this year of eligibility. You have to put the foot down on these guys. Multiple transfers, multiple years. You shouldn't be able to pick and choose that often. I agree. I agree. Look. I understand he left Ole Miss. Or, I'm sorry, he left LSU, even though I think he was the one that they were paying, if memory serves me correct.
He was one of many that.
Yes, one of the ones that. So in a way, I almost think like, dude, you got paid. You should fucking have to stay in Baton Rouge. But then he goes to DC with Pat Ewing and Kevin Nickelberry, and things don't work out there. And then how the fuck do you get granted all these things? Just because the coach is leaving? I don't even understand. I don't even understand how this is possible. NCAA's got no fucking backbone right now. They're a disgrace, and this shit is ridiculous. Like, okay, if he graduated, I would understand the third transfer. Or I'm sorry, the second transfer. But I think this is crazy. So wait, so theoretically, when he graduates Ole Miss in 2 years, because they'll pass you for taking fucking the most ridiculous class, vacuuming. You'll be like, hey, he's majoring in fucking vacuuming. And he'll be able to transfer again then. It's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Great get. If you're an Ole Miss fan and Chris Beard's going to make them good, no doubt in my mind. But absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous.
He'll be eligible to transfer here again in a year if he graduates.
It's so ridiculous. Like,
yeah, it is.
Michigan, what'd you make of Caleb Love going to Michigan? Because I know Hunter Dickinson is currently visiting with the Kansas Jayhawks. You filthy, filthy whore, right? Just come on, dude. You are at Michigan. They just announced that they landed Trey Jackson, a grad transfer from Seton Hall. They landed Namari Burnett from Alabama and Caleb Love. Come back to Michigan, and you're going to have like a top 25 roster. I don't understand. Is he definitely all the way out the door? Is there any chance Hunter Dickinson comes back? And I guess what'd you make of the other gets and Caleb Love? Burnett and Jackson all landing in Ann Arbor.
See, I'm not the biggest fan of Caleb Love. I think he shoots the ball every single time he touches it. He just made big shots against Duke in the Coach K games where everybody's going to remember him. But I mean, he is a talent. Burnett's a talent as well, coming over from Alabama to Michigan. And two things to be true. And Trey Jackson. I don't like that Hunter Dickinson's leaving Michigan. I don't get it at all. They threw him the ball every single play. I think he should stay. I don't think he's 100% out the door, but I mean, I think he's going to go to Kansas is my prediction. I think I predicted that a couple weeks ago. I'm going to stick with it. I think they're going to pay him obviously with the NIL and Self's track record with big guys in the past, whether it's Aldridge, the Morris
what a
twins.
bitch, though. Come on, man. Where's
I
your
agree.
fucking competitive spirit? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Michigan, you're getting paid at Michigan. All right, you're getting paid at Michigan. You came back last year, part of that NIL collective. Like, you're just going there to win a national. Like, that's a cheap national championship, in my opinion. Like,
It's
you're just
the Kevin Durant championship.
yeah. It's just cheap, man. The Gators also have been active in the portal. They landed Walter Clayton Jr., the point guard from Iona, who everyone thought was going to St. John's. Not the case. They also landed the big man from Marshall, Micah Hanlogton. I'm probably butchering that. But he gets like 10 boards a game. He gets like 10 boards a game. They also brought in the Yale transfer, E.J. Jarvis. Todd Golden year 2. I know we lost a couple guys to the portal too, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I didn't really love that hire when that happened. I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong again. What do you think of the Gators?
It's a big year. They're not patient in Gainesville. I mean, they push out Mike White. He had been to the tournament every single year, including in Elite 8. Todd Golden completely misses it. They really weren't close this year. He's got to flip this in quick with and this is a good transfer class on paper. Obviously, bringing in Clayton, Hanlogton, I can't pronounce his name either, and Jarvis from Yale. So this is a huge year in Gainesville.
And then let's talk about the California Golden Bears here, because just gonna double check here. Cal basketball, obviously they were awful last year. Well, I mean, not only that, I mean, so Evan Askew, who only played 13 games for them, right? He has multiple years left of his eligibility, surprisingly. He's not in the portal, so I'm assuming, well, he's not yet. I'm assuming he's coming back. Then Cal goes out and lands Jalen Cone, who, if you watch, I watched this guy in person for Northern Arizona, where he averaged like 18 points a game, former Virginia Tech point guard with Buzz. They land Jalen Cone. They bring in Fardaws Amik, who obviously had the experience with Madsen at Texas Tech. Fardaws was at Texas Tech, but he had the experience with him at Utah Valley the year prior. And all of a sudden, the Cal Golden Bears, if you think about like just those three, pretty decent. You know, I don't know the rest of the team and what they're doing. I know, like, I guess their second leading scorer, Thieman's in the portal. But I think after that, you have a guy, DeJuan Clayton, who's eligible to come back. Who knows if he will. But I can tell you this, I'm kind of buying in that they'll be at least a lot more competitive this year than last year.
Yeah, they can't get any worse. That's the first thing. But the good thing for them is the Pac-12 sucks. So after, obviously, UCLA and Arizona, so there's a chance to really make a little bit of a push here. They can get up to maybe the 5th or 6th team in that league in no time.
Well, I was actually thinking about this, man. With the turnover you have at Arizona with Krisha, Tubelis is gone.
Yep.
With UCLA losing, Tiger Campbell, they've lost, I think, 3 guys. Jaquez, they lost another guy that went pro. I mean, am I crazy to think that Colorado might be able to win the Pac-12 next year?
That might be a little bit of a stretch just because I think UCLA will be consistent, but I definitely think they're in the top 4. And I mean, you don't know what you're getting out of Stanford. Washington State's been interesting. I mean,
they got rated though. TJ Bamba, that's one of the notes here. He turns down, so he had
Villanova.
He goes to Villanova. He almost went to Georgia Tech. Chose Nova over. It's a guy who averaged 16 points a game in the Pac-12 last year. He leaves. Also, their big man left from Minnesota. I think Washington State is due to regress. If anything, Oregon, Colorado maybe can take advantage of. Maybe Arizona State. Who knows? They're always just crazy with the portal. But I don't know about Arizona, and I mean, I guess Arizona's got to be better though. I mean, but you would think taking those hits, can you get that much better than you were a season ago? I don't know that you can.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be better, but you just gotta. I think you gotta trust the coaches there that they're going to get talent at UCLA and Arizona, the traditions and just the name. And, they have NIL money at Arizona and UCLA as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Iowa State landed Keshawn Gilbert from UNLV. I think he goes back to the Otzelberger era. That was a big get for the Cyclones. Cyclones also got the top scoring guard for Wofford, Jackson Pavladzika or some shit like that.
Yeah, I like the fit.
Yeah. Other substantial portal gets and note Jalen Withers from Louisville ends up at North Carolina. He averaged 9 points a game last year, just about. Youngstown State got Ziggy Reed, who was a stud for Merrimack. Gerard Calhoun. Watch out for the Penguins next year. Marcus Domask, the star small forward for the Salukis, staying in state, going to play for Big Brother, the Illini. Interesting. Get Damian McKnight, the star point guard for Western Kentucky, who averaged just about 17 points a game, goes to Xavier. He takes over for Sule Boom. I think that's a great get. I think that's a really good get. Other news. Who else did we have on this sheet that I hadn't touched on that? Rank Mast, the leading scorer for Bradley, their forward, he transferred to Nebraska. The mayor, Fred Hoiberg, landing a top guy for the Bradley Braves. Merrimack guard Jordan Miner, who averaged 17.5 points a game, lands at UVA. They could have I mentioned a couple other transfers that UVA was able to get. They might be an interesting team next year. Will Baker had a good year for Nevada this year at center. He transferred to LSU. Remember, he was at Texas 2 years ago.
Yep.
I thought this one was good here. Boise State lands Omar Stanley from St. John's. Boise State might be pretty fucking good next year. And then two VCU guys, Nick Kern and Ace Baldwin, go to Penn State. I mean, I'm shocked. If you're Ace Baldwin, why go to Penn State? You have a better chance of making the tournament at VCU. It's got to be money, right?
I think he just likes Mike Rhodes. I mean, he gave him a shot, and he's just going to follow his coach. And it's going to be interesting to see how Penn State transitions from the Shrewsbury style of play to Mike Rhodes, kind of more grinded out, Big Ten style. But I think Mike Rhodes, I think he can take a book out of what Kevin Willard did in year number one, play a little bit up tempo and be different from all these other slow teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm still just a little shocked. I think he's such a good player that
I wanted him at West Virginia. I would have loved Ace Baldwin. I thought he'd been a perfect Hugs guy.
Yeah, I was just a bit perplexed there. What else was there? There was I thought this was somewhat substantial, was that Fresno State, who's also in the Mountain West, they added the Wyoming guard Xavier Dussel, who's pretty good, and then Arizona State center Enoch Bioke, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah,
I think those are two decent gets. And then I saw that they landed Isaiah Pope from Utah Tech, where he averaged, like 13.5 points in the WAC. Could the Bulldogs be a team to watch out for in the Mountain West next year with those gets? Yeah, we talked Omar Stanley to Boise State. Mountain West, using some of that money. San Diego State got him some extra money. Another one, Nelly Jr. Joseph. Remember him from Iona? He lands at New Mexico. He averaged 15 points at Iona. New Mexico's loaded next year. If Richard Pitino
from
doesn't
Pitino to Pitino.
Yeah. If he does not win the Mountain West next year, I don't know that he's your guy, because they're loaded. I guess San Diego State, but they should at least make the NCAA tournament next year.
No doubt. And they were the last unbeaten team in college basketball this year. I think everybody forgets that is they were the final unbeaten that went down. I think they lost at Fresno was their first loss, ironically. And they bring back both their guards, House and Mashburn, doing well in the portal as well. They are committed to basketball in Albuquerque. So Pitino needs to go on a run next year, get to the dance. We saw with San Diego State. Who knows what could happen once you get there?
Very, very true. And then let's talk a little bit about your TCU Horned Frogs, because they obviously lost Eddie Lampkin to Colorado, but he quit the team mid-season. they've been pretty active in the portal here, getting Jameer Nelson Jr. from Delaware. They also got Assam Mustafa, power forward from Coastal Carolina, who averaged double figures. And then they landed Travion Tennyson. If you watch Texas A&M Corpus Christi basketball, this guy was a stud for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The Horned Frogs, I don't know. I mean, it's a big step up from those three conferences, right? You got Jameer Nelson Jr. Obviously, his dad played in the NBA, so the lineage is there. But, playing in the CAA. You got Mustafa out of the Sun Belt, and you got Tennyson out of the Southland, all jumping up to the Big 12. But, man, they put up gigantic. They're all three put up big numbers at their, former schools. What do you make what the Horned Frogs are doing before we get out of here?
I like it, and I feel like they got an identity. They're going to try and duplicate what they already had, kind of with Nelson replacing Miles. They lost a lot, but I trust that staff. They did it already with Emmanuel Miller a couple years ago in the transfer portal. Damian Ball. They've done a good job in the transfer portal over the last couple of years. So I trust Jamie Dixon, that staff, to get the right guys. And yeah, they're going the mid-major route, but these were high-impact mid-major guys as well. I think they can make the jump. I like Mustafa as well from Coastal.
Yeah, interesting gets. Just interesting. And I guess their crosstown team, who I talked about, SMU, Denver Anglin, comes in from Georgetown. Also, Chuck Harris from Butler. I expect SMU to be a lot better in the AAC in Rob Lanier's second year with the Mustangs. There's too many teams to talk about. All right. Yeah. But there is not too many episodes because we are going to be doing a shit ton of them. All right. So folks, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. We're trying to keep you updated. It's tough. Every time you refresh the page, you sign in. Even while I was doing this show, probably 30 players fucking went somewhere. We're trying to keep you informed. So please hop on over, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Also remember that I host the College Football Experience and the College Baseball Experience. We just dropped both new episodes in the past 24 hours over there. I also host the USFL Gambling Podcast, which kicks off this weekend, and the XFL Gambling Podcast, which is playing this weekend. And I'm part of the Sports Gambling Podcast. Check out all of those platforms. And then Moneyline Mac. He's the host. Give him a follow, first off, on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac, and give us a follow at TCE on SGPN. If you're watching on YouTube, you see at the top right corner. Once again, youtube.com/the college experience. I'm on Twitter at the Colby D, but Moneyline Mac hosts the Ryan and Rush show, which, we got the hat in studio now.
Oh, yeah.
We got the hat in studio. And subscribe to that. Check out the NFL Gambling Podcast. And we got some news coming soon on Mac's going to be a part of a third podcast that I think you guys will be excited about. So give him a follow and check out all of his work. Also, get the SGPN app in the App Store and Google Play Store. It's free to download, folks. What are you doing? Get that thing. And yeah, come talk college hoops with us. It's like that's the one thing. We talk a lot of shit about the portal. At least we have a lot more news than we used to have. April used to be like, man, I guess I'll watch Rambo 5 again. You know what I mean? Some shit like that. Used to not get any information besides a couple coaching news. Now, overload. So come talk about maybe your favorite. Maybe you're an SMU fan. Maybe you're a TC fan. Maybe you're Georgetown. Hop in the Discord. Talk about why you think your team's going to be loaded next year. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. So go on over there, and I think you'll enjoy it in general, just because we're always talking some form, and it's not only college hoops. If you like tennis, any fucking sport you could think of, so hop on over there and do that. And let me get some music as we sign off here. But folks, appreciate you joining in. We'll be back next week to talk more college hoops. This is the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Can't be found. My cellie's off, so I can't be found. I'm on a worldwide tour, touring every fucking curtain down. They say the Lord watches over my sins. Over my head, watching hair as it thins. Over the ledge, and ain't letting me in. There's still regiments and relevance to letting me win. Win, lose, or draw. You ain't prepared unless you all ready to lose it all. Using a brawl? Yeah, that's a ride day. Good friends know my Nina Hideaway. They came and went, but the riders stay. So it's like I won the lottery. Can't be found until I resurface with the latest purchase. 33 in a third and 45 circles. You ain't got that shit. And I ain't 45 king. But on the beats, I've been doing my thing. I start the program and the doorbell ring. I gotta leave town to a place I can't be found. My celly's off, so I can't be found. I'm on a worldwide tour, touring